Come. Yeah, come. Join me. That's Kitty. If you go and you watch a bunch of my lives, you'll notice my eyebrows are always completely messed up. I realize that. I don't know if I've ever said it, but I've noticed that. And I figured you guys should notice it because it's funny. Honestly, not even sure why I'm doing this live. I'm supposed to say stuff, but I'm not really sure how to word it yet, so I'm just gonna give it a minute to do the things they do. Levels, layers, dimensions of understanding. I had talked about that before, that whenever we start to heal and start to go within, we start to learn a very specific list of lessons, so to say. So it's like if you learn what acceptance is and forgiveness and unconditional love, or just love in general, remembering you are not alone, no fear, perception, the door is open to all who see. Hello, not sure who's watching, but hello. So we learn all these lessons. And then we might think, oh, well, I know all the lessons now. But we don't. Because there's levels of these lessons, right? There's learning that forgiveness comes from self, and to others. We have to forgive ourselves and others. Boom, right? But then it goes even deeper than that, because once you get through all of the levels and layers and dimensions of forgiveness, you are going to come to the insane realization that forgiveness is just an illusion. We ain't gotta forgive nobody. In the end, once we did our healing and we figured some stuff out, we come to realize, and this comes through experience and not people telling you. I'm sharing my experience so that people know what's coming later on, so when it does happen, they're not going to be like, I'm absolutely crazy because, oh look, Jenna experienced this too. My story is different. My experience itself on how I learned these lessons are different, but the lessons, those are all going to be the same. Every single one. And that was one of the first things that I said in one of the first lives, was that everybody's going to share their story and that everybody's going to learn the same lessons. We're all going to get the same messages in different ways through different perception, but it's all going to come down to love, forgiveness, compassion, all of this stuff, all the way up until remembering. For those of you who saw my live where I read my journals, that was also one where I was like, I'm not really sure why I'm doing this live. They were just like, get your journals, right? And then I looked through my journal from 2010. I had written in that journal, I want to remember everything. And then I was sitting here like, first of all, I don't remember writing that. Second of all, I'm realizing through this journal entries from 10 years ago that I had began on some level the process of remembering, but then I let myself get distracted through outer experiences, right? I didn't go within. I looked at the situation outside of myself, around myself, and I let that control my emotions and my behaviors. So I ended up having my 7 years in hell, basically, because it was 2010 and I came back in 2017. I had my 7 years in hell. And then I came back here and I started healing. And I understand what heaven is on multiple levels, layers, and dimensions. I understand the final level of forgiveness. I am understanding acceptance in ways that I never thought were even humanly able to comprehend. Ego. Ego is like a toddler, or like a person with amnesia. Imagine you meet someone on the road. They're wandering around aimlessly. They're not quite sure what's going on. The last memories they have are traumatizing. So they're in fear, and they're in like fight or flight mode, pure protection mode. So you meet this person and you're trying to help them, but out of fear, they lash out. Now you're not going to be mad at this person who's throwing things at you, yelling at you, cussing you out, whatever they're doing. You're not going to be angry at them. You're not going to call the cops going, oh, this person's dangerous, insane, bad. You're going to go, this person doesn't remember anything except for being hurt and traumatized. We have to get this person help, right? We have to help this person. You're going to have compassion. You're not going to forgive them for what they did, because there's no need to forgive them, because they did not know what they were doing in the first place. Why? Because they forgot. That's kind of what happens when you start to see people not for their vessel, but for their true nature. When you see their true nature, you understand the soul came into this body, established ego for protection, and you know, the ego doesn't understand universal stuff, and the universe doesn't understand human stuff. So it's finding that balance with it. And then the ego, of course, it acts up like a little toddler. It wants something, it throws fits, it gets right? And then at some point you just got to kind of learn how to allow ego to be ego without letting it affect your behaviors, right? So you can become aware and acknowledge, this is the part of myself that only remember trauma and is in fear and is trying to protect me. And the soul is, you know, trying to tell ego, hey, look, it wasn't all traumatic. The fall was not that bad. We've done this before, right? So, and it's not a falling from grace, it's a jumping from grace. It's voluntary. We know this. But I remember. There was an accidental fall. And that's how it began. There was an accidental fall, and a lot of the fear based on memories that we're not aware of memories is actually from that event. Because what had happened was humanity was already in the midst of control and selfishness and greed and suffering. And when we fell, when we saw what happened, we decided to help. I don't want to cry. I hate it when they do that to me. So, the whole message with no fear is because you're not alone. And the way you perceive things is how you will experience them. And on paper, what is going to happen is scary. But when we remember, there's nothing to be afraid of. Because it's all divinely guided. I'm still getting bits and pieces of certain things. I'm understanding that when we remember past life memories, it's not necessarily I was this person, right? Like, I was King Arthur. Well, no. You remember being King Arthur, but that does not necessarily mean that you specifically were King Arthur. It means that you're tapping into the memories of the experience of the collective where King Arthur is in. Because as one consciousness, we can all access the same information. But it's a process being able to do this. And until we experience how to do this, they will feed us information. They will give us the information that we need. Which is why everybody's experience is different, right? Because every ego is different. Because everybody experienced different traumas and everybody reacted in a different way. There's a different process to remembering. And some people fight it more than others. Because the memories of fear are being perceived as a current state of mind, a current state of being, It's like they're looking at it from the physical standpoint and not from the soul standpoint, right? Because if you're looking at it from the perspective of only spirit, you're going to realize there's nothing to fear. Fear is how we don't remember. Fear has been put in place to keep us from remembering. Tower of Babylon. I had written about that, I don't know, earlier this year, the beginning of this year. I can't believe it hasn't even been a year since I started my blog. And like, just for me to realize how much stuff I learned and wrote in the past year is absolutely bonkers. They said that, you know, they built the tower to try to reach the gods, right? Reach God. God said, no, we ain't gonna have that, right? And then the people were separated and the tongues were split so that they could not speak. And I was stating how the internet just might be the new tower, right? Everybody can communicate. Everybody's able to comprehend a universal language online. Why? Because we have Google Translate, right? We have all of the means necessary to back up any information we look up, any information we get. We can research anything. We have the technology to translate. And quite frankly, English is the most known language. Which even as a kid, I remember saying that everybody's going to speak English one day. Everybody's going to speak English one day. Because I grew up in Germany. And a lot of German people were like, well, why don't you just go back to the States? And I was like, oh, I was kind of born here. And I would like to go back to the States, but I was born here, right? So, but I would always tell my German friends growing up that it wasn't me who needed to perfect my German. It was them who needed to learn English. And then when I went to the States and I came back, the level of comprehension that the people have here now in English is outstanding. I have not come across one person here who does not at least understand a certain amount of English. Even if they can't speak it, they understand it. Now, look at it from this perspective. It was not people talking the same language going, we're going to build a tower to reach God. Look at it from the aspect of everybody remembered, or they were remembering, they were able to communicate to Source, to the Celestials, to God. And they were able to communicate with each other as we have been doing, telepathically. And I know some of y'all are going to be like, this bitch is crazy, but there's plenty of you who already know that we can do this because we have been doing it. Because I will pick up a message, I will post it on my Facebook, and somebody will go, oh my God, yeah, but we're on separate ends of the world. And we don't really talk that much. So for me to have a very specific message that resonates to that extent on my personal profile, that's telepathic communication. That's me receiving messages from consciousness saying, hey, post that. And I go, why? And they go, post it. And then somebody else on the other side of the world goes, holy shit. That is showing proof. That is proof. That is confirmation. That is something or somebody to bear witness to back up the experience, the knowledge, the truth behind telepathic communication. Energy. Energy. So the Tower of Babylon really was not a tower. It was humanity remembering what we are, consciousness in a vessel, having an experience. It's fun. It's a game. And we come and we do it again. And it doesn't matter how horrible the physical life was in the vessel. When we leave the vessel and we go back home, we're like, man, that was awesome. That was fun. Let's do it again. That's all it is. It's like going on a roller coaster. You're in line, you're anxious, you're excited. You're like, oh my God, should I really do it? I don't know. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, right? And then you get on it, And then it starts to move and you're like, oh no, I did this, I should get off, I should get off, I should get off, I should get off, right? And then it goes up. And the whole way up you're going, oh no, I'm gonna die. Oh no, this is, I wanna stop, I wanna get off, right? But then you get to the top and you're like, oh, this is a really cool view. And then you just go all over the place. And then you get off and you go, that was so cool, I wanna do it again. So there's a lot of fear and anxiety and excitement in the beginning, and then during it there's a lot of excitement and adrenaline rushes and holy shit, right? And then at the end you're like, totally worth it, do it again. That's pretty much how that works. And at some point in human history, we weren't involved. I'm waiting for more, but I don't know. I feel like something's missing in that. Carry on. Okay. Sure thing. So, here's the thing. There was a manipulation that took place. The splitting of tongues. People who felt what power was, they wanted more. And it became, they became so detached from the essence of what we are through this greed and this power and this, you know, lust for material things in life. They broke the tower and split the tongues. It was humanity, it was not God. God would never do that. God wants us to remember and experience and have fun and not be afraid to experience humanity. Right? So, imagine you're like a team of people, right? And everybody is, you know, doing their things separately, but also have a goal that they all have to accomplish. Now, there's going to be somebody who's going to kind of lead the way. Everybody is equal. Everybody's going to give their information. Like if I'm doing a group project with somebody, I will never say I'm in charge, I get to say. I will always tell people, what do you think? What do you think we should do? What is your perception on this? How do you feel about this? Does anybody else have any ideas? Why am I the only one coming up with ideas? That was my whole life. Every time I had a group project, I would get as much information from other people within the group as possible. Now, when you have this team and the person in charge realizes everybody's going to do what I say to do and they like it too much, that's when they're going to stop talking to the other people about what do you think, they're just going to go, well, we're going to do it like this and like this and like this and like this and like this, right? And then if somebody within that team goes, well, I don't know, I think blue would be a better color, right? And then this person in charge is like, ego, right? Gets full-blown, what? Well, I don't want to do blue, I want to do pink. And then at some point, a person might develop a habit of not listening to other people to a point where they don't care about other people, and then the only thing that they see is people trying to defy them by being their authentic selves. They see defiance, they see opposition. They don't see people experiencing their own thing, having their own perception and accepting it because they want to be the ones in charge. So what they did was they found ways to keep their power, enhance their power, and manipulate the other people with fear. They took words and they twisted them and they turned them into spells to manipulate people. And we don't even realize that that's what happened. I know a lot of us, everybody probably at some point in their life was like, why do they call a table a table? Why do they call a chair a chair? Why do they call seeking seeking? Why do they call a cat, right? At some point we all wonder where language came from and how it came to be. I don't have the answers to that yet. But I do know that things were put in place and words were put in place and tongues were split to instill fear. It wasn't because people were getting too close to God and God wasn't having it. It was that people were remembering who they were and what we come from and where we come from, and the people who didn't want the others to remember, they said, we're going to split the tongues. We're going to cast the spells. We're going to manipulate with the intent to remain in power. And that's how the split took place. Hi, David. You're fine. They were just like, come online. And I was like, okay, here I am. So I'm telling stories. So that's how the split of the language took place. It wasn't necessarily a split in the languages. I mean, yes, it was, because as within, so without. But the split itself is really in regards to splitting us from our true divine source, so that we are not able to have that communication directly to God. At least we are not aware of it, because we are able. We've always been able. At some point in your life, every single person had an experience where something told them, don't do that. Don't go there. Stop. It's okay to be late. Go back home. Some random thing that ended up saving your life, saving somebody else's life, having a really big effect on you. And the reason that happens to people is to show proof that we're not crazy later on during this process of remembering. It's not an awakening, it's a remembering, right? Because we never really go to sleep. We're just not aware. And, you know, instant manifestation. At some point in our lives, we thought about someone and they called. We thought about something and it happened. We had a dream and we had deja vus. All these things. These are all signs showing us what we are and how consciousness works. But we don't have that awareness until we start to go within. The reason I don't get information, like when I was in the dark night of the soul, I did not know what it was. I thought I was having a psychotic breakdown. I thought I had lost my shit. Bonkers. Crazy. Thought I was nuts. It's all in my blog. My dark night of the soul that I wrote in my journal, it's all in there. But I thought I was losing my shit. I didn't know what a dark night of the soul was until over a year later is when I finally came across the term, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I had to experience that without any kind of outer influence. So all of the things in my blog, all the lessons that I learned, because you can tell that at some point the lessons kind of get deeper and they all connect, and it's just like cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles within these blogs where you can start to see. And that's why I had to start doing the lives, because putting something in a blog, I can put forgiveness in a blog, but there are so many levels to it, and there are so many things where forgiveness and compassion and acceptance all come together. I'd be writing way too much and nobody has time to read that, right? It's just easier for you to push play and drive and do what you gotta do and just listen to me babbling in the background talking to my cat. Where she went off to? There she is. So, the falling of the tower and the splitting of the tongues was done by humans to keep humans from remembering, because the people who got a love for power wanted to keep that power. And if we all remember and know our worth and our divine essence within and our connection directly to source, because we are a part of source. Exactly. Well, then the people in power don't get to stay in power. And then these people who are in power, so it starts off with a little group of people who are like, yeah, well, we want to stay in power, right? And then they have other people coming in and they train them and they manipulate them. And it's basically like when you're breeding a dog, right? You have a dog, you have a healthy dog, and then you breed this dog into something that is not healthy because you're manipulating it. You're manipulating it at its core, the DNA. You manipulate these dogs, these species, these breeds, until eventually you have a completely messed up Doberman where the brain is too big for the skull and it hits it and they go bonkers and become aggressive. Pretty much what happened to humanity. Somebody started to breed humans to fit their needs, and it turned into corruption and alterations on a DNA level that just basically fucked humanity up on every level. And there was destruction. The world was destroyed multiple times, and that's what's happening again. On a different level, with a different experience, with a different story. Revelation into Genesis. Again and again and again and again and again. And we get to witness that. That's pretty cool. So, when people say that everybody's going to wake up and then go home, yes and no. Because humanity is still going to be humanity, having the human experience. It's like this. You go to school as a student, you become a teacher, right? You get your diploma, whatever, become a teacher. And then you teach, let's say, oh, better idea. You become a driver's ed teacher. There we go. You become a driver's ed teacher. You learn how to drive. Eventually, you become a driver's ed teacher, and then you're teaching your students how to drive. Now, you know that you can only tell them the basics, show them the basics, but they have to learn to drive through experience, right? Because not everybody is going to really understand what it's like to drive until they have been driving. And the more they drive, the more they understand, the more they know what to look out for, right? I have a friend, he's only been driving a couple years. Whenever he drives, I am absolutely terrified if I'm in the car with him. It's not that he's not a good driver, it's that he's an inexperienced driver. And I can tell the difference. And, you know, like, he will pay attention to the vehicle directly in front of him if the brakes hit, right? But he's too close. So I tell him, you need to be focusing on the vehicle in front of the vehicle in front of you. Because you will see when their brake lights come on, and then you'll know, well, the guy in front of me is going to hit the brakes. So you can already start to hit the brakes to get that distance and to make sure people behind you know, hey, we're about to slow down or stop. And that's something that I learned through experience, right? So you understand that as the teacher, you can tell them all of these things, but they're not really going to get it until they experience it. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help people remember by helping them heal. And what I didn't understand when I was guided to start sharing my blog, Jenna's brain was like this. Oh shit, I was really depressed. I was in an abusive relationship. I don't want other people to have to deal with that. I'm feeling better. I'm learning things that I didn't realize at the time. And I think that maybe if I help other people, like by sharing my experience, like, I want to help people heal. That was all I knew. I was like, I want to help people to overcome the kind of shit that I had gone through, because I know there are people who go through the same thing and worse things, right? It's all perception. Something stung me. Stung? Bit? Whatever. So, no, we are reconnecting. That's the thing. And we're fighting it, though. A lot of people are fighting it. Because remembering is exhausting, for one. It's exhausting. It's physically very draining. But the healing part is scary because it's painful. Especially in the beginning. And of course, nobody would want to face themselves in their pain. You know, we try to run from our pain. We try to hide from our pain. We try to hide from love because we're afraid of rejection. Because at some point in our life, we experienced pain with love, so we associate love with pain. And then we start to fear it. And at your essence, if you are love, but you have developed through experience as a human with an ego that love is painful, you are rejecting what you are. You are rejecting love. So when it starts to come down to healing, the very first thing that we're going to realize is, I don't love myself. And that's terrifying and heartbreaking and mind-blowing. And then when you realize, I don't love myself, you have to go, why don't I love myself? And then you have to start thinking about what happened to make you not love yourself. And then you have to realize that things happened in childhood that conditioned you to be something that you did not feel you really were. And then you lost track of who you are, and then you had the experience that love hurts, which usually comes from parents. They didn't know any better either, right? It comes from parents or the experience of a first love or emotional, physical abuse, sexual abuse as a child. You know, we all have free will. And people who hurt other people, and they're not aware of it. So, as a child, I experienced things that later on in life, I let those experiences mold me into a specific kind of person. But then whenever I went within and I was like, that's not even who I am, I broke the mold. And then when the mold breaks, you kind of just turn into this gushy, slimy stuff, right? And then you're just like slime with eyeballs looking around going, okay, well, the mold is broken, but what the fuck am I? So we try to fit ourselves into a different mold as we're going through the process of figuring out who we really are and what we really want in life, because we don't know, because as children, we were told to shut up and do as I say. We were told, you're a child, you don't know anything. So we were put into a mold, and we don't know what the hell we are. So as we're figuring this out and trying to push ourselves into these different molds, be like, well, no, this don't feel right. So let me just slither on over here in my slimy essence and go to the next one. Exactly. We become fearful of what we are, love. And spirit. You know, spirits, witchcraft, ooh, evil, bad. No, it's not. It's what we are. And there's so much witchy stuff in the Bible and other religions. Like, it's funny. Y'all over here talking about crystals and sage and myrrh and looking at the stars. Like, we got astronomy, astrology, biology, psychology, all within the Bible. And the Bible has a lot of lies. Manipulation of words, spells, right? To manipulate people, to keep them in a state of fear. But the Bible also has a lot of levels and layers and dimensions of truth within it, where you can recognize that the Bible itself is not just a book of religion and man-made rules to keep people in fear. The divine made sure that there are still messages in there that when we are vibrating at a specific level and we have a certain level of comprehension of remembering, we will be able to see those messages within there. And when we start to heal, those messages start to come in. And then we experience things that are, quite frankly, magical. They are. So then the human brain, the ego, the one with amnesia, the scared toddler, goes, oh no, we gotta stop what's happening because I don't like how this feels. And then fear kicks in under some sort of thing, or some kind of energy around you is going to instill fear. Last major shift I had, I was seeing the cycle of Christ within my life over and over and over. I was seeing it within other people's lives. I was seeing where they made their sacrifice to save someone else. I was seeing a lot of stuff. And it was a very emotional time. Exactly, another book of alchemy. Yep. It was a really emotional time. And I started to get a lot of information. Universal information. And I was sharing everything. And then people started to come in, and they were giving the same message that I was giving to me. They were talking to me, you know, on Facebook. They were giving me the same messages that I was getting already, downloading. The ones that I hadn't spoken about yet at this time, because I don't really talk about these experiences until after the fact usually. Because then I've experienced it and I can talk about it, obviously. But they were using the same messages that I had been receiving, but they were coming from a place of fear. And warnings, and it's gonna get so bad, be really scared, and this is gonna be such a shitty fucking time, and do and like all of these things, right? And I was like, you know what? I received all those messages too. And for a moment, they almost got me down into fear. But then I heard them saying, pull them up. And I was like, pull them up. And then I got it. So instead of me going, oh shit, I got these messages, I'm not talking about them, this person's coming in with the same messages, and he sounds absolutely fucking terrified, I need to be scared, I said, no. I'm getting the same messages, but I'm also hearing over and over again, no fear, shift your perception, perceive with love and you will see light. So instead of going into his fear, I pulled him up into love. And by the time our conversation was done, he wasn't scared anymore. That's alchemizing energy. That's transmuting energy. That's raising the vibration and learning to keep it there. So life does not get perfect. It doesn't. My cat died, and then I had car problems and all this other shit, and it all happened within a matter of weeks. It was just like, the whole month of August was one thing of bullshit after the other. And it didn't matter what happened. I would let my emotions flow. I would release them. I would become aware of what was triggering me in the process and whatever it was. And I would practice acceptance of every single situation. And what that did was it raised my vibration some more. And now here I am remembering stuff. Like, a while ago I started to be able to, and this is at random, I would look at somebody, I would talk to somebody, and I would recognize the angel that works with them. You know, people would be like, oh, well, I have Archangel Michael. Okay, cool. Well, you have Archangel Michael, and so do 5 billion other people, right? We got these many vessels, and then the angels communicate through, you know, work through multiple vessels, because it's a lot of vessels to be working through, and it's a lot of work right now that's going on down here that needs to be transmuted and fixed, and people need to be healed, and people need to become aware that they have to heal, and then they have to start to heal, and then they have to start getting awareness of memory and all of these things. So it's a lot of work. So no, they can't just work with one person. They have to work through multiple vessels. So I started to recognize these energies within the people. And, you know, I'll go back and forth with the terminology. I'll say celestials, I'll say angels, I'll say ETs, I'll say energy. It's all one. Every angel, you can find a connection in different spiritual thingies or religions, planets, tarot, right? Because it's all one thing. Just giving a different story, a different perception, a different lesson, a different message. So if I'm talking to Archangel Michael, he's going to give me a certain kind of feeling. I'll get a certain feeling, so I'll recognize him. I started to recognize these energies within people. So, and sometimes it would be as a planet, and sometimes it would be as an angel, and sometimes it would be as a god. I would see that specific energy coming through, and I'd be like, okay, well, you are being, you know, your lady love, your Venus. You're channeling messages about the divine masculine feminine energy. And the reason I came into this person to have this information given to me was because right now Mars is in retrograde and the masculine is about to step the fuck up. Not men, the masculine. The masculine is stepping up back into his power. The feminine is coming back into her power, and that balance is going to be restored. Mama's waking up. She's tired. She don't want to wake up. Like, it's hard to explain. She's coming home. Everybody's coming home. The men are coming home, and mother's waking up, and there's going to be a union. And yeah, I saw, well, I don't really know how to explain it. As a child, I would see the evil. My dreams were really dark. A lot of them turned out to be things that are actually happening in the world right now. I'll see something on the news, which I don't really watch the news, so if it shows up on my shit for me to be watching it, then I'll be like, oh wow, that looks exactly like in my dream. So, crazy things. Which also with the dreams and the memories and time being fluid. I had dreams as a kid, and then I met someone 16 years later, and she told me about a dream she had 3 months before we met, and it was the same dream. The same building, the same person, the same bedroom that she saw. And through those experiences, I learned that being in the dream space is not necessarily just, you know, your dream. It's traveling. We can travel to the same place. That was one aspect of remembering. And then now I know that there is also the possibility that I was not traveling there and she traveled there. It's that her dream was basically tapping into a consciousness, into a memory that I had already retrieved. And that was done specifically so that when we met, we would connect the way we needed to connect. So if I'm looking at somebody and I recognize the angel, it's an energy that I'm talking about. It's a very specific energy. And these energies can be linked to memories, feelings, whatever. I retrieve memories in the form of emotions right now. I'm getting a headache. But also visuals. So I was recognizing these energies within the people. I was recognizing earlier in the year already that if somebody dreams about Sekhmet, it does not mean that I am the goddess Sekhmet. It means that the goddess Sekhmet is currently working through me. But I am her, but so are you. Because it's all one consciousness. Separated to have individual experiences. To forget and remember and come home. And do it again. Because it's a game. It's fun. Didn't start out that way. It started out, you know, which it still is it's to help humanity get back to where they were. Because we were manipulated. Humanity was manipulated and put under a spell, under a veil, illusions, fear. And that's what the world is waking up from. That's why when you see the COVID numbers changing and you see things popping up like, oh, the CDC miscalculated, or oh, they had the numbers wrong, or oh, all of a sudden they're just going to change the numbers down and they're going to say that, oh, well, this many deaths were not COVID related. These truths are shifting. And it's because the people are waking up and they're saying, I'm not scared. This is bullshit. They're seeing past the illusion. They're seeing that the people want the power. And through this shift and speaking out, this is not true, that is becoming reality. They are shifting the paradigms. They are shifting the timelines because they're stepping out of fear. And that's really cool to be aware of and to watch. And the reason I have that awareness is because it happened to me on an individual level, on a personal level. I came to witness things happening where I was stepping out of fear, shifting the paradigms. I became aware of how time works and how I can make time work for me in any way I need it to. Because it's an illusion. If I have 2 hours to do 10 things, I'm going to get all those things done and still be where I need to be exactly when I need to be there. Because it's an illusion. And if you step out of the illusion, there are no limitations. And I'm still learning the whole no limitations thing. I'm still figuring that out because there are limits on the physical sense, yes, because we are here on Earth. But consciousness has no limitations. So, like this morning, I dropped my daughter off at kindergarten. And I was going to go straight to my grandma's house. And I was like, I gotta go pee. But I can go to my grandma's house. I can do it there. It's like a 20-minute drive. Like, I'm a big girl. I can hold my bladder, right? But then they say, no, go home. Fine, I'll go home. So I go home. I go to the bathroom. I'm about to leave. My house phone rings. Not my cell phone. My house phone. My landline. I pick it up. It's the kindergarten. They say, hey, your daughter ran out of diapers. We put a note in your book bag, but I guess you didn't see it. And I was like, no, I grabbed like a bunch of notes out, but I did not see the diaper note. So she was like, well, she's out of diapers. Can you bring diapers? Had I been at my grandma's house, it would have taken at least an hour for me to be able to bring those diapers. Because it's a 30-minute drive each way. And then I have to take care of her and clean up for her and do all the stuff I do. So, you know, and with the COVID right now, they're not about to take some other kid's diapers and put them on my kid. You know what I mean? So it's like, I listened to that voice. And then I realized this is why they needed me to come home. Hold on, I gotta hit see more, and sometimes it doesn't. Nope, that's not. Nope, again. Why does it do that? There we go. Do you have well, it's really all about the awareness is what I realized, because like whenever that one person came in with the same message as I had and they were fearful, I realized that I had to be aware of that. If you are aware of something coming in that's trying to lower your vibration, then it's not really able to lower your vibration unless you let it, because we have a choice. I had a choice to go, oh my God, yeah, he's absolutely right. This is going to be absolutely terrifying. So many people are going to die. Or I could go, well, yeah, but that's fine. Like, I don't want to be scared because my guides told me not to be scared. And because what I saw really wasn't that scary on a divine level, you know. Now, if I fear for my physical self, that's a whole other thing. But we're protected. The ones who are doing the work and remembering, we're protected. That's what the Bible said. God offers protection to those who listen to his word and work through him, and that's what we're doing. But we're not doing it in the religious way. We're doing it the way it was meant to be, the way it always has been, but we were conditioned and we forgot. So, you know, the energies can work through other people to instill fear. You know, these psychic attacks people talk about, it could be just somebody coming in or something happening in your life, like your cat dying, you know, that can bring you into a lower vibration. But we have a choice to not get stuck in that vibration. And eventually, it's really easy to stay out of it. Like, it's like a swing set in the beginning, because I had really, really bad anxiety. And like in February, was the first time that I had taken meds again in a while, because I had this shifting experience where I got all floaty, like I do now when I'm channeling. And the Kundalini was rising, the Christ of oil within the spine, which is the thing, biology, backing up spirituality, backing up religion. And I got this excruciating pain up here in my back. It felt like something was ripping my spine open. And that lasted for a while. It was a block. It lasted for a while. But I had all this stuff coming in, all this information coming in, manifestation, acceptance, forgiveness. And it was just like too much at once. And it had my whole body shaking. It started with a download of like a soul contract. That was like the first time I ever experienced where I would retrieve not the memories of the experiences I had with somebody, but the reason why I had them and what they meant. And it came in like puzzle pieces or movie clips. Just this is why you met him. This is like, it's like, this is the blueprint, basically. Like, I have my memories of the experience of meeting this person and having these experiences together. But what I got was the blueprint. Was the, this is why. This is how. This is the reason. And when that came in, there was an emotional release. There was physical shaking, physical purging. And then the next day, it also had the tingling. You know, that tingling we get on your head and the heat in your spine. I had that. And that tingling, that's when you get information. But I wasn't quite aware of how to listen yet, because I didn't remember at that point who we really were, where we came from, and how we communicate. So I freaked out. I mean, I crashed so hard. I crashed really hard. And I was having instant manifestation. I was having synchronicities out the ass. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And I was like, I'm not ready. Like, I don't know how to comprehend this. I don't understand what this means. I feel like I'm about to leave my fucking body and just gone. I can't do that. I got kids, you know. Bye. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna keep talking though. Because these are meant to be watched later. The timeline's catching up. Have a good day. Is it day over there? I guess. But I'll be here. Bye. My cat's snoring. What was I saying though? That's the thing. Yeah, so I had that crash in February. I went to the doctor. I got anxiety medication. And I was taking those for a couple days just to kind of keep me functioning. But I did almost go to the hospital. I did almost go to psych, but I kept hearing that one voice that's helped me many times throughout my life. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And then I was like, okay, so let me turn down the drain, like turn down the faucet so that I get less information. I wanted less information. And that worked. If they give us too much information, we can tell them to slow down. We can tell them we need a break. So, you can go. I'm just going to keep talking. Yeah. So the information, when it starts to come in, it can be overwhelming. The memories can be overwhelming. Just that we're not aware that they're memories quite yet. And this is all the stuff that Jesus went through. That's why they say Christ consciousness. But it's also, you know, Buddha went through it. I believe it was Abraham who went through it. Oh, it's nighttime? Well, oh, good night. Yeah, what time is it here? I don't even know. 11? Echo, what time is it?
The time is 11:12 a.m.
11:12 a.m.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. You too. But yeah, so it's all about having the choice. We have a choice to be in the state of fear. We can talk ourselves out of it. We can alter our brain. We're in control. We're in control of what goes on within us. So if somebody from outside comes in trying to scare us, trying to manipulate us, trying to take our power, we are in total control of whether or not they can do that. Which is how I overcame depression, bipolar disorder, suicidal ideation, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. Also, bipolar disorder, I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there, has manic phases and depression phases. When we go through these shifts, they're like a swing set, right? We'll have these ups where we feel a lot of joy and we have a lot of information, a lot of creativity going on. We don't really sleep very much, but we're really energized. We're probably not going to be very hungry at all. Not going to need food either, though. And you're doing a lot. You're very creative. Like me, I'll start writing a lot of blogs because I'm getting a lot of information. And then after that, you get pretty tired, probably depressed. Your body feels sluggish. You might be hungry all the time. In the medical field, they're going to say that's a manic phase and then a depression phase. But when you start to remember and you allow the transition to happen, the shifts to happen without fighting it, without fighting yourself, you will learn that these manic phases are shifts into a higher vibration. And what happens is, say you're at 100 and then you're going to have a shift into like the 300s and you're going to receive all these downloads and you're going to feel what it feels like to be at the 300s. Occasionally you're going to feel what it feels like to be in the 600s, but you're not going to anchor in at the 300. You're going to anchor in at a 2 or a 250. So you went from 100 to a 300 to a 250. That's why it seems like you went from manic to depressed, because you went from a higher vibration, you were in a low vibration, you went to a pretty high vibration, and then you anchored in at a lower vibration. So it feels like a swing back and forth. But eventually, we're anchoring in at a high vibration. So when the low comes in, it doesn't feel like depression anymore. It's just like, I need to take more naps. I need to eat more food. I went from not eating anything for 3 weeks to wanting to eat 5 pounds of freaking beef a day. Like, what is that? I don't know. I'm not going to let somebody make me feel bad if I want to eat meat or candy or drink coffee or beer. It don't matter. It's part of the human experience. And I have learned from my experience that it does not affect my energy because I am not making that a part of my reality. There are no limitations to my consciousness, and my physical vessel does not have control over my consciousness. And that's just how it is. Like, yeah, if my vessel gets sick, clearly my vessel is sick, right? We need to take care of our bodies. But me being sick is not going to alter. Oh, that's why y'all had me in the hospital. I see. Okay, got it. Being sick does not change your level of awareness in your spirituality, because you have a choice to fall into a lower vibration through this physical illness, or you can go, this is just me needing to take a break. This is, showing me that I'm doing too much. This is me showing that I need to set better boundaries for my health. Whatever the lesson is in it. Because there's always a lesson, or a blessing, or a purpose. There's no good or bad. Only lessons, blessings, and purpose. So, your physical experience is not in charge of your spirituality. It does not affect your awareness. It does not affect your remembering. I mean, yes, if you're an addict, clearly it's going to be a different story, because you have clouded judgment, because you're under the influence. If I get drunk, which I don't do very often, I don't like to be drunk. But I did have to have an experience where I got drunk a couple months ago, and it did not change my perception on a spiritual level, but it did make it to where I could not express it properly. And then later on, same experience, but I was able to express it properly, and that was them showing me, you can be drunk and still do what you gotta do. You can be drunk and still channel messages. It's just a matter of where you are at in your vibration. So the physical body as a limitation in the physical is not a limitation to whether or not you can channel messages and stuff. It's just a matter of what level you're at in awareness and acceptance of what we are and what we're here to do. So it might sound weird and crazy and complicated, but it's really not that complicated. It's really easy, really. People in power decided, I like this, I want to keep it this way. We want people to not remember who they are. We want them to be afraid, because then we can stay in power. And then they bred a society that is in fear, and another part of society that is in power. And it started cycles within humanity. And then we come in, help out, clear shit out. Gaia has her purges. Revelation. And we start over. New Adam and Eve's new Genesis. And that's what's happening now. And this is the last time, I guess. That's what I'm feeling. So, reaching enlightenment, everybody goes home. It's that there are people, vessels, who, because we don't reach enlightenment, we are enlightened. But there's going to be those that remember enough and are going to remember more and more, so that by the time Revelation ends, they are going to be the ones to restructure, to rebuild. And I started talking about destroying and rebuilding in the beginning of the year. Everything that is happening, I've already spoken about in the beginning of the year on some level. I talked about destruction. I talked about don't be afraid. I talked about Trump is where he needs to be, his purpose. I talked about, I don't know if I actually made that a blog, but I was telling people here that I know there's going to be fires. I said America's going to be on fire. And then Black Lives Matter happened. Because I wasn't seeing no forest fires. I was seeing war fires. I was like, America's going to be at war. There's going to be fires. Well, congratulations, America. You're at war with your damn self, right? For now. There's more. Anyways, so It's Revelation into Genesis again. But this time, instead of just, letting things repeat themselves, we're going to make sure that everybody remembers. So we have these people who are remembering, sharing, doing whatever they got to do, whatever they're guided to do. And like my blog, I'm not the only person who's doing this. I'm not the only person sharing the experience, every part of it, every aspect of it, or most of it at least. I mean, there's a couple personal things, that I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, this happened, but I share most of it. And if people were to ask me specific questions, I would more than likely answer it all. And I've always been that way. I never saw a problem with sharing. I was always very open because something might help someone else, which is why I started in the first place, to help other people. So imagine, if you will, a world of destruction and messages coming in globally, on a global level, where everybody goes, oh shit, that's a thing. And then this message on a global level says, you guys have to heal to remember. And then they're going to show you where to go. Let's put it that way. I'm going to show you where to go, where to turn to learn how to heal, to process what's going to happen, to see the experience from someone else, so that when they experience it, they don't go, I'm absolutely fucking crazy. They go, okay, so this is actually normal. This is real. That's where my blog comes in. That's where Mark's stuff comes in. Okay? So everybody's got, their own thing that we're all being guided to do. And that's why there's so many people on YouTube and Twitter and TikTok, whatever all there is. It's because when the collective receives the global message and every single person becomes aware, every single person is going to be fucking terrified. Because we were terrified at first. So instead of having the experience of Dark Night of the Soul, don't know what it is, shifts, don't know what it is, perception shifting, don't know what it is, physical purges, don't know what it is, visions, dreams, memories, don't know what it is, they're going to have all of that same stuff happening that happened to us, but they're going to be able to look at us and our social media and our books and our whatever we've been doing and go, I can relate to that. That's something that I'm experiencing. I'm not crazy. And that is how every single person wakes up. It does not mean everybody's gonna, go home. I mean, the ones that are helping, we're gonna go home. But humanity is still gonna stay. There's still gonna be an earth. There's still gonna be humanity. There's still gonna be the human experience, and people can choose to jump in any time. But the purpose of all of this is to save humanity. It's to save humanity. And that's it. It's not that complicated. We're here to heal, remember, and fall back to love. Save the world, right? That's what we're doing. That's all it is. Yep. Is there anything else? No, that's it. It's not that complicated. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what I say. So, If you want to know, if you want to remember, if you want to look at somebody and see that that is your eternal, universal mother or father or sister or brother, which, by the way, if you're hanging out with someone and they drain your energy, or you guys just, you know, have human type of things going on, and you feel like you want to cut ties, and then you become aware of who they are, not here in this vessel, but on the home base, you will have a completely different perception, because you will not have the love for them from human to human. You will have love for them from soul to soul, but on a different level. Because when you see them for who they really are, like, I can see someone and recognize, I know the soul. I've been able to do that. But I have not been able to look at somebody and go, oh shit, you're my mom, or you're my husband, or you're my brother, or you're my sister, from where we come from. Call it heaven, call it Asgard, call it whatever you want, Olympus, Valhalla. It's all the same place. It's all the same place. Archangel Michael, Thor, same thing. Odin, Pahalia, Mars, same thing. All one. But yeah, once you see that, first of all, insane emotional response. That's how you know it's true. You will have confirmation. When it happens fast. It happens really fast. A lot will come in at once. But I think that once we're at that point where we are getting those specific memories, the reason it comes in fast is because we've already anchored in at such a high vibration that it does not affect us in a way that's going to lower our vibration. It might just make us really tired or have headaches. Probably because you're going to be crying a lot. When I recognized my divine husband, I thought I was crazy for a second, but then I was like, yeah, no, I'm absolutely not crazy, because memories came so fast. Same for a sister. Recognize a sister. A couple others. So when you do that, you could be looking at a serial killer in the vessel form, but then when you recognize the soul as your brother, that's all you're going to feel for them, is that love you have for your brother, or that love you have for your sister, or that love you have for your mother. You're not going to see the human vessel. You're going to see the amnesia. You're going to see that scared person on the street who only remembers the trauma, who is beating and kicking and yelling. And you're not going to want to call the cops and have them arrested. No, you're going to want to hug them and hold them and tell them it's going to be okay. And that's the only way you're going to be able to look at them from that point on. Only compassion. But we have to get to, that point. We have to experience these things. I can give you the guidelines. I can share my story. I can tell you these are the lessons that are going to come in. And then whenever they come in, you're going to know and recognize and become aware and be like, okay, cool. I'm not crazy. And it's really cool. It's like when you watch a movie and you kind of know what's coming next, and things just kind of fall into place. That's how life becomes like a movie. You learn to manifest in a way that it's like transference of energy. Do I really have to go there? Really don't feel like it. Fine, I'll do it. Okay. For instance, people get stuck on the twin flame journey. The twin flame journey, it's not exactly how we perceive it. Okay. And I've talked about this before. 3 parts to a flame, right? I had one dude swore he was my twin flame, and at that time he was in alignment with me to where one would say twin flame, just for the sake of communication and understanding, comprehension here. And he triggered my dark night of the soul. Now somebody else might say that was a karmic connection, or whatever, but at that time the alignment we had, that was a twin flame connection. Through experience and free will and acceptance and divine guidance and timing, I came to the realization that I don't have to be with the person that I first perceived to be my twin flame, because at some point, if him and I were to become at the same alignment again where I am now, if he were in this alignment with me and we came together in person, there would be a possibility of a union, right? But I know that's not going to happen because I don't want it to. Quite frankly, I don't want it. He don't want it. He's got his third part of the flame, and I'm extremely happy and proud of them. So, and what happened when I let go of, really let go, really understood that me and him were never going to happen again. When that really came in, I wasn't focused on the person. I didn't focus on, I have to be with him again at some point in time in my life. I wasn't focused on that. I wanted to be with someone that I could have that connection with, right? But I wasn't aware of this until the other day, that this is what happened. So basically, the energy, that specific connection that I had with this person, transferred a little bit into another person who came into my life, who was in alignment with where I was at, who triggered a lot of healing, but in a non-painful way. This is Clad. I talk about him all the time. I love Clad. I adore Clad. Do I want to be with him? Honestly, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Why? Because I'm already aware that I can manifest somebody else who is in alignment with me where I am now. Clad is not in alignment with me anymore. And my feelings for him have not changed. But my feelings for someone else are changing, because I'm recognizing this new alignment. And does that mean I want to be in a relationship with that person? No, I don't give a fuck. Do I think we will be in a relationship? I think so. We have a choice, right? But I think so. My gut tells me. And he doesn't seem to think otherwise. So we're just kind of seeing what happens. The point is, whenever I realized I had to stop focusing on Clad, right? And I was like, let me not focus on the person, but the energy. I want that connection. I want a specific type of energy. Somebody else that had already been in my life. He's already been in my life for a year, over a year. All of a sudden, I became aware of him. Right? I became aware of him. And when that awareness kicked in, we started to talk more and hang out more. And now we're recognizing that we have a lot in common, despite the 13-year age difference. That was really throwing me off for a minute. We have a lot in common. He's becoming my best friend. And the thing is, all of the things that me and Clad would talk about doing, that we never ended up doing together, I'm doing with the other person. I'm having the experiences that I was hoping to get with the connection I had with Clad. I'm getting those experiences with another person who I'm having the connection with too. Right? So what happened was, I got thrown into the dark night of the soul by somebody who was in alignment with me, as in a twin flame kind of way, runner, chaser, dynamic, all of that stuff, right? It was the narcissist and the empath. A narcissist is an empath. Anybody who thinks a narcissist is not an empath has not received that download, okay? A narcissist is an empath. A narcissist is an empath who is in so much pain that they have nothing else to do, because they don't know any other way than to give pain. Because the empath to the narcissist, for the sake of labels, is showing the narcissist what they are afraid of. They reject that part of themselves. So when they reject that part of themselves, that loving, compassionate, understanding, I want to help you, right? I want to help you. The narcissist freaks the fuck out. Why do you want to help me? I'm not worthy. Blah, 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 right? So they're going to project that inner rejection towards you. And the empath, an unhealthy empath, yeah, just like it's a narcissist, is an unhealthy empath. And then there's the other side of the other spectrum of the empath. I want to fix you, I want to heal you, I want to help you because I love you and I have compassion. Well, the urge to do that comes from wanting to heal ourselves. So where I wanted to help my narcissist, yeah, where I wanted to help him heal and be better and do better, it was because I needed to heal and be better and do better, but I wasn't recognizing that as a reflection. I was projecting. So I was projecting the love that I wanted for myself onto him, not recognizing that he would not be able to love me the way I wanted to be loved, because when it really came down to it, I did not love myself. Therefore, if I don't know how to love myself, how can I know how somebody else should love me, right? So we were projecting each other's shit onto each other without realizing it. Ooh, that got really warm really quick. That was purple. That was new. So, yeah, so that's that. Narcissists are not unable of feeling. They feel much, much more. Everybody is an empath. How we experienced that aspect of ourselves is different, though. Some experience it in the form of narcissism, others in the form of I'm an empath, and when you find the balance, that's when you're good. Because I can't heal you unless I heal, right? Because if I'm not healed, I'm going to project shit onto you. I'm going to assume you have the same experiences or feelings that I have, right? I'm going to assume our perception is the same, right? It's a lot of projection and reflection. And if we're not aware of the reflections, then we are going to be projecting. So, fellow empaths, don't try to save the narcissist. Save your damn self. The narcissist will get there. That's that cycle, that dynamic. Yeah. So I didn't focus on being with him. And then somebody else came in, and I immediately just totally focused on him. And the reason that happened is because I dreamt about him before I met him. And I felt his energy before I met him. Now, the reason that happened the way it did was because I am aware now. I had to be triggered in a way that I would recognize where I had to learn lessons, like control, right? Let go of control, surrender, go with the flow, don't have expectations, right? Acknowledge your worth. I figured out the root cause of my daddy issues through him. Figured out, there are blogs that were entirely, I didn't know what to write. I said, hey, what should I write about? And he would be like, well, I got this and this going on at work today, so how about you write something along the lines of, how to deal with a curveball, universal curveballs. He's like, how do you deal with that? And I was like, that's a good idea. And I did. I wrote about it. I learned about healthy boundaries and toxic walls through him. I learned about communicating your truth. All of these things, all of those lessons I learned by being in contact with him, because I was in alignment with a person who was functioning at a very high level, but he still had his own shit to heal. So while I was aware of the healing that I'm doing, he has been healing because I see it. I see the changes he makes, but he's not completely aware. One of the last times we spoke on a deeper level, he told me he said I'm working on overcoming my fears. So he's Mr. Oblivious. But yeah, and then at some point, I remember I told my friend, I said that I'm going to manifest a third party. I said, I'm going to manifest another person because, well, for one, I just wanted to see if it would happen. but also because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't fixated on this one person for the wrong reasons. And then I realized, once I became aware of this other person who has already been here this whole fucking time, once I became aware of him, and our dynamic started to change, our friendship started to shift, which is, you know, we're developing a beautiful fucking friendship. Like, seriously. All of the lessons that I learned with and through CLAD, I am applying with this new friendship. And one of the things about breaking cycles is that we learn the lesson and we have to apply it in order to break the cycles. Your karmic cycles, that's what that is. Learning and applying the lessons to not repeat the same patterns. So, had I, for instance, met CLAD and we did end up in a relationship, I would have still had jealousy. I would have still had abandonment issues. I still would have had the need to feel in control. I still would have not been able to communicate my truth. I still would not have been steadfast in my belief that I, you know, am secure in my truth. I would not have been able to accept that my truth can change, right? So there's a lot of things that would have affected that relationship in a very negative way. I would have been a very toxic person because I was a very toxic person. I just didn't perceive it that way. Just like CLAD. CLAD does not seem like a toxic person. He is a beautiful person. He is a beautiful soul with a beautiful heart, but he fears love. He does not acknowledge that he has a soul. He rejects relationships because he fears that he's not worthy of them. You know, he's in this friendship where they've been hanging out for 2 years or something, and they go traveling and they hang out on their birthdays together. The only thing I have seen this man make a priority in his life besides his job is that woman. And he still swears up and down he does not have romantic feelings for her. And I'm like, it don't matter if you have romantic feelings for her if you're not aware of your feelings to begin with. He doesn't really understand emotions. I said, it don't matter. Because if you look at your pictures, there's romance all around you. You travel to Europe together. You go do this together. You go do that together. And I understand this because I am seeing these similar experiences coming forth with me in this new friendship, only that I am aware and he is aware. And neither one of us is afraid of a commitment. Neither one of us is afraid of a relationship. We are not afraid to see where this goes. We're going with the flow. We're not trying to stop it. We're not trying to put blocks on it. Right? Now, CLAD and his friend, they both reflect that fear of commitment because of fear of pain. And I did point this out to him at some point. I was like, you know, you might want to work through that karmic shit right there, because that's a karmic thing right there to show each other, and you're not seeing it. So here comes Jenna. Gotta help people heal, but I gotta point it out. But in order for me to be able to point it out, I had to experience it and recognize it within myself, right? So I did that. And now that I have done a lot of my work, and I'm not saying I'm completely healed, there are aspects of me that are definitely healed. It's really hard to trigger me. I'll get triggered for like 3 whole seconds and be like, yeah, whatever, you know, it's accept the shit you cannot change. And if you can change it, and if you're triggered, then you should change it, right? So if you can't change the outside world, change your world. Something you don't like and you can't change it, get away from it. Free will. Free will. If there is no intent to harm, there are no limitations. So I saw the shift. I became aware of someone else, and the energetic bond connection that I wanted with a person, I stopped fixating on who that person was. That energy shifted into someone else, and now I have that connection. I'm building this bond. I am setting the foundation for a healthy friendship. We are setting the foundation for a healthy friendship. And unlike CLAD, he is not afraid to speak about emotions. He is completely aware of his emotions, and he is very open about his emotions, and he is very open about his experiences and or lack thereof. You know, he doesn't have like a whole bunch of crazy stories and shit like I do. He had a very, you know, simple life. Why? Because it's not that complicated. Keep it simple, stupid. Right? It's only as complicated as we make it. Well, he told me the other day, we were talking about chasing dreams, and I was like, well, what dreams do you chase? And he looked at me and he's like, what dreams do I have to chase? He says, look at my life. He says, I went to school, I started working, I go to work, I go home, I play video games, and I hang out with you guys. So that's all I do. That's all I've ever done. And I was like, yeah, well, maybe you don't have to chase dreams. Maybe dreams just come to you. Guess we'll see. Because I know what his dreams are. He did tell me. And when it comes down to it, we both have the same ones. Really. So, don't get too focused on a person when it comes to manifesting any kind of ship. This could be a friendship, a relationship, whatever it is. And don't focus on the labels behind these ships. Because what we all need is a best friend. That's what we need, a best friend. Whether there be a physical connection involved or not, that's a free will thing. You know, that's choice. Y'all can choose whatever. But what we want is a best friend. And who we marry is supposed to be your best friend, right? So don't focus on, you know, how good is the sex, or is there any sex at all, because those are physical things. Those can be taught. Those can be experienced and experimented with, right? Don't focus on how much money does this person have, because money is a materialistic thing that can be worked on together to achieve more of if needed. Plus we can manifest, and the universe, God, will not put us in a position where we cannot have what we need, right? Don't worry about the materialistic things. Don't worry about, oh, I have to figure shit out before I can commit to somebody. We're not meant to figure everything out alone. We're supposed to do it together. That's why there's couples. That's why people get together. To figure it out together, to do it together. But in order to have a healthy relationship, we have to be able to live our life alone, healthy and happy, right? We can't expect our happiness to come from being with someone else. We have to be happy on our own. That way we don't have anything to project onto someone to sabotage a relationship. So don't focus on a specific person. Don't get caught up in the great sex that you're going to have. Because more than likely, the narcissist in your life, the abuser in your life, the twin flame that you first encountered is probably the best sex you think you're ever going to have. Which I think that's part of the lesson. Is to learn to break away from that physicalness of it all. Because love is a spiritual experience. And in order to have that union on a spiritual level and not a materialistic level, one has to heal. So that we don't have things getting in the way to sabotage us. Well, we sabotage ourselves, you know what I mean. So, twin flame unions. For the group of y'all who are on the journey right now, who are healing, who are remembering, Daddy's coming home. Alright? So, there's going to be a lot of unions. There are a lot of unions. I can see people. I can see their pictures together, and I can recognize that that is that union. That those are healed people, or people who are healing each other in this union through their experience to raise the vibration. I can see that in a picture. It's really cool. And there's a lot of them happening right now. A lot of them. Many are not aware. So. Yep, energy moves. Energy, emotions, energy in motion, right? They move. Don't focus on the person. Focus on what you want to give yourself so that you can accept it from other people. Hi. I can't see who that is. Who is that? Why can't I see that? Like, I see a picture, but it's so small. Well, it's gone now. Anyways, I was about to get off of here. My daughter's about to come home. Yes, kitty. I heard you. Did you hear her? Alright, I'm getting off of here. I have to add a description. Yeah. I'll try to do that. Alright, anyways, that's that. Focus on yourself. Heal. You'll remember. You'll remember. No fear. And even though forgiveness is an illusion, as long as you are living in the illusion, you are going to have to experience forgiveness. So start by forgiving yourself. Because the people who molded you into what you are now did not know any better, so forgive them. But then you have to forgive yourself because you never broke out of the damn mold. That was your choice. That was my choice, right? I had to forgive myself for allowing the experiences that I had to turn me into a toxic person. Not a bad person, just somebody with toxic traits. I didn't have healthy boundaries. I didn't know how to not be jealous or not try to control things. You try to control things out of fear, right? You're jealous out of fear. You reject love out of fear. It all comes down to fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of pain. That is how they took our power to begin with. So, stop that shit. It's your power. You got it. Nobody can take that from you unless you let them. Alright. I love you guys. Have fun. Yep, that's it. Okay, bye.